Hello, and welcome to my shop, such as it is. I have come up with this design for some small deck boxes that I want to make and sell for gaming people. And I thought I would walk you through my process of putting one together. I have some plans that I've got drawn up. Now, I make this out of 3/4 thick wood, and I'm still working on being able to dimension to resaw larger pieces. I've got my bandsaw pretty close. I think I might need to dial it in a little bit more. I have to check. I've got it so where by eye it looks okay, but the micrometer is still giving me some variance. I'm not sure how much of a big deal that's going to be. But in the interim, I picked up some 3/4 inch wood, some hardwoods online. Now this is not really sustainable because this is an expensive way to buy wood. Wood's expensive to begin with. So I've got some what's supposed to be ambrosia maple. That looks like spalted maple to me, but maybe I don't know. I got a piece of tigerwood. I got a piece of padauk. And I got a piece of zebra wood. I am going to start with the maple because padauk and zebra wood and tigerwood are way more expensive than maple is, and maple's a lot less expensive and easier to replace. So let's get to building, shall we? Okay, so first things first, we need to get this set up. I need to rip this down to the proper width. The saw is unplugged at the moment. Always make sure we're doing that whenever our fingers are close to the blade. These boards are 4 inches in width. Let's see what the actual width is, huh? Before we go any further. Wow, that's just about exactly 4 inches. A lot of times the dimension they give you is a listed dimension, not an actual dimension. So this is 4 inches wide. And I need them to be, what do I need? Let's take a look at our plans here. I think it's 3.5, 3 3/8, or 3.5. So we want to rip the whole thing down to 3.5 because we're not going to have anything wider than 3.5, right? Because 4/8 is 1/2. So go to the bottom. Yeah, we're not going to have anything wider than 3.5. So let's swap out to our ripping blade here. I do have separate ripping blades and crosscut blades. My ripping blade is the nicest one that I have because I wanted to be able to rip and get really smooth cuts. So I actually purchased a Frood industrial blade. Although it does need a bath right now. I gotta clean it up, but it'll be fine for now. I don't know. Maybe I could get away with just a really nice combination blade. Oh, the other reason I picked this up is I wanted to be able to do like 1/8 inch deep squared grooves, and this has the FTG, the flat tooth grind on it. So it'll make nice square cuts. All right. Now let's set our rail for 3.5 inches. I think is right there. Lock that down. I want to make a test cut first. You know what? Let's put the, while we're here, that's one of my complaints about this saw is that the blade arms get noisy really fast with debris. I mean, quick spritz of dry lube clears it right up, but not super happy with that part. All right, so let us find a scrap piece that we can cut into a little bit. That works. Because we really just need to make a quick test cut to get the measurement. All right. Leaving protection on. Hearing protection on. Dust collection on. Focus on. Okay, that's all we need there. Just a test cut to measure the distance here to make sure. Oops. And there we have just about exactly 3.5 inches. All right. So we're going to rip this down to 3.5 inches wide, and I think I'm going to rip off this side because this side has more of the spalting on it. Dust collection on. Oh. You also want to adjust the blade height. Push stick at the ready. Outreach support. Wow, look at that. That's almost perfectly square now. That'll be useful for something, I'm sure. All right, now we got to unplug the saw. So now we have to switch back to the crosscut blade to crosscut our pieces. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Move that out of the way. Raise the blade up. Put the push stick away that I probably should have used to make that cut. My fingers were probably a little closer than I ought to have them to the blade. I don't know. I probably should, but to be honest, I don't use the blade guard all that often. And it kind of makes it a little more difficult when it's on there to judge the distance from my hand to the blade. At least it feels more difficult when I can't actually see the blade. But that's something I need to be mindful of. All right, so we are probably going to use the crosscut sled for this. The blade guard can come off and the riving knife can go back on. There you go. Maybe I should back this up a little bit so you can see me a little bit too, in addition to the wood. Right? That seems proper. All right. Let's get our crosscut blade back in there. Let's get our crosscut sled in place. And the blade down. Now, blade height. There's a lot of debate I've seen online about how high you should set your blade. I mean, everyone says definitely you don't want it ridiculously high. But I've seen some people say it should be just high enough to clear your workpiece by like maybe 1/8 of an inch. I've seen some people say it doesn't really matter, and I've seen one person say that it should be high enough so that the bottom of the gullet is level with the top of your wood. And that's so the gullet is able to clear out the wood that it needs to clear out. Honestly, that makes the most sense to me. So that's generally what I go with. Okay, plans. So how high are these pieces? So they're all going to be, well, 3 of them are going to be at the same height, which is 4 3/4 inches. And one of them's going to be 4 1/2 inches. So, and I should be able to get all the pieces I need out of this. This is a 36-inch piece. That has been plenty in the past. So let's see how we do. So we need 4 3/4 inches, which is, this is not the easiest way. You know what? We will set this to 4 3/4 and lock it down. And now we'll just put that off the end of the wood and use that as our mark. There, 4 3/4. Now what I can do is put this stop down here. So we're going to line the wood up with this side of the blade because that side's our cutoff, our offcut. And then I can tighten this stop down. No, don't push it. There. Now with the stop tightened down, I can make all 3 cuts exactly the same that are supposed to be 4 3/4. Let's do that. Breathery on. Ear protection. Saw's plugged in. Dust collection on. All right, the next piece is going to be 4 1/4. So it's 1/2 inch shorter. So we'll reset our square to 4 1/4. Take that mark. That on there. Mark our 4 1/4. Line that up with the blade and make the cut. I overshot just a little bit, so I'm just going to trim that down. I forgot to put the dust collection back on. Such a numpty. Okay. So this one's kind of plain. It doesn't really have anything on it. These two have some nice spalting on them, so I'm going to make these the sides. What we have to do now, before I assemble this part, is we have to cut some grooves in the sides. So we're going to unplug the saw, and we're going to go back to back to the ripping blade. I don't know. Switching the blades back and forth is kind of a pain in the ass, but I feel like it's important because I really want to get the best cuts that I can. And I feel like the only way to do that is to use proper ripping blades and cross-cutting blades. I actually want to replace this with something nicer, to be honest. But we'll get there when we get there. The beauty of this is this makes a nice, like really precise 1/8 inch cut, which is exactly how deep I want the groove to be in these. All right. Now, because, okay, yeah, this is going to be the front. Also has some nice spalting. Because I'm going to be ripping this way, even though I'm using the rip blade, I'm still going to use the cross-cut sled. And now I want to be really precise with how high I have the blade. So, get out the blocks. 1/8, I think 1/8 inch deep is how deep I want it to be. Do I have that? I want to see if I have this marked. Yeah. It's 1/8 inch by 1/8 inch. So, saw is unplugged. I want to set my blade height for 1/8 of an inch. So, right to there. Lock that down. And this cut is going to be 1/4 inch down from the top. So we need to decide which we want to be the top and which we want to be the bottom. I mean, it's really just a matter of taste. It doesn't make any real difference. So let's call these the tops. Let me just mark them. This is going to get sanded at some point anyway. All right. And we want this to be 1/4 of an inch down. So let's get our 1/4 inch block out. 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch. So we want this to be exactly 1/4 of an inch above that. So we want the stop block. Let's be smart about this. You have a stop block, you may as well use the stop block. The thing I don't really like about the stop block is it tends to shift when you tighten it down. I don't know why. Because it's cheap, that's why. All right. Before we proceed with that, let's make another test cut. Yeah, this would be a better scrap for that. No, it won't. Yes, it will. The end's not square. Is that end square? That end square. Okay. Gear up. Dust collection. Good thing we make a test cut. That is not deep enough. That needs to be 1/4 of an inch deep, and it is not 1/4 of an inch down. So let's try this again. I think it's because this thing shifted. Yeah, I can feel it shifting. And that needs to be 1/4 of an inch, not 1/8 of an inch. I had that wrong. Test cut. That's better. That's much better. All right, now we are a proper 1/4 of an inch down, and that's plenty deep enough. All right. Let's cut our grooves. All right. Now the last cut we need to make before we do our glue up so we have to trim the front piece and the back piece down to 3.5 inches. I think. I'm not sure I did that on the last. You can't even see anything. I'm not sure I did that on the last one. These are going to be our sides. This is going to be our front. And this is going to be our back. You know, I'm just going to leave that at 3.5. 3.5. Because these are going on like this. Yeah, you know what? We're just going to leave that like that. You can't even see. We're just going to leave that like that, and we're going to glue that up like that. I don't think those need to be trimmed down any further. I think that 3/8 to 3.5. It's like 1/8 of an inch difference. I don't think it's going to matter for that. In fact, I think I'd rather have it a little bit wider. So let's unplug the saw. Put the outfeed support back where it belongs. All right. Oops, unlock the feet. All right, now we're going to do a glue up, and that is going to be the end of stage 1 of making this thing. I might do this in parts, or I might mash it all together in one video. So we want this. And we need clamps. I'm still experimenting a little bit. I want to see if this can work to do this glue up. I feel like I tried and for some reason it wasn't great. But let's give it a try, shall we? This is really great for gluing up miter joints. Like 10 out of 10, highly recommended. It was this one time in band clamp. Ew, ugly edge. So it's going like that. I intentionally opted to not make miter joints on these. It's a design choice, really. I don't even remember why I settled on that design choice, but it works. And you might think that a butt joint like this is not going to be as strong, but I actually ended up reinforcing it. So I'm sure it'll be quite robust when all is done and said. All right, you. Stop it. Stop being a pain in my arse. That's going to go there. That's going to go there. That needs to go like that. That needs to go like that. It needs to go like that. Yeah, I think this will work for this. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's just checking to make sure everything's square. Now I'm kind of kicking myself because I should have squared my blade before I did my cuts, and I'm really annoyed that I didn't. It's very important when you're making cuts this small. I think that's good. All right, let's loosen that up. I'll leave those in, and I'll just apply glue to the sides. I think these are going to be pretty robust. I know a lot of the deck boxes are made out of like 1/4 inch thick wood. This is 3/8, which doesn't sound like much, but when you're dealing with an item that's this small, I think that extra 1/4 inch adds a good deal of robustness. Because I want these to hold up and be able to be used. I don't want them just to be like decorative things that are going to sit on the shelf. Some of them might be. Depends on the kind of wood. Some of the hardwoods are a lot more delicate than others. But maple's pretty heavy duty. I'm also thinking I'm going to make one out of oak. I'm going to call it Old Ironsides. It'll be the name of the deck box, Old Ironsides. It'll be made out of oak. And it will be super durable. I want to make sure that that is all the way out. Can't see what I'm doing, but I'm trying to make sure that for some reason, it doesn't want to go parallel there. I want to make sure that this glue joint here is as flush as possible to minimize any future sanding that needs to be done. See, and I'm a little bit bugged because this joint right here is slightly proud. And it doesn't want to seem to sit flush the way I want it to. Now that one's, you know what I think I need to do? I think I need to clamp in some of my angle clamps on the interior here. Where are all my clamps? Oh, they're on the bandsaw. This is where having some smaller clamps would be good, I think. These are actually kind of big. And clumsy. And I don't really need all that much gripping force here. You know, just enough to kind of hold it in place. Yeah. I may have to, oh, that's not going to work like that. That's only going to work like this. I may have to come up with a better clamping solution for this. Yeah. This is taking way too much time and it's way too fiddly. All right, let's get one side. See, and that's crooked. I don't want that to be that way. No, that's not flush. All right, this might be more of a hindrance than a help here. And again, that's too wide. We need to loosen that. All right, so a better clamping solution is definitely required here. But that's okay, you know? We'll get it figured out. That's why I'm doing this. is to get it figured out. All right, that needs to be flush. That's flush. Is that a little snug? All right. So we are flush across the bottom and pretty flush down each side. Close enough. We snug that up a little bit. Now let's get this piece slotted in. Fortunately, I have a few minutes of work time with this glue, so. All right, come on. Flush, I said, damn it, flush. Up flush, bottom flush. All right, maybe all I need is these clamps. I don't know. This feels like maybe it's a better solution than trying to use the band clamp. All right, so we are flush across the bottom, pretty flush on each side. Yep, I think just going with these clamps is the way to do it. That just seems to be quicker and easier than trying to get fancy with the band clamp. There was this one time in band clamp. You know, I didn't even know what the reference for that quote was until I actually Googled it, because I never watched the movie American Pie, because I frankly was way past watching movies like that when it came out. I was more like the Porky's era for that kind of raunchy teen sex comedy. All right. Stage one is complete. And this video is almost half an hour long, so I will see you in stage two.